Hey Robert, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Pat.
Excellent. Hot ride down here?
Well, the valley is heating up.
Yeah. For people who don't understand and aren't in California and the valley, it gets, we're at like what, 105, 107 right now, somewhere around there.
Yeah, right around 105 today.
Yeah. We're the semi-arid desert of the San Joaquin Valley.
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
Sure. Yeah, my name's Robert Huckaby. I'm the president of Westside Equipment Company. Our company is we manufacture and build. We design harvesting equipment for tomatoes and for pistachios.
Yeah, that's cool.
And we do a lot of other little ancillary items as well, but that's the core of our business right there.
Right. So when did this company start?
This company started back in 1986.
Uh-huh.
It started with 6 partners. It was really Dan Roderick and then 5 of the Perez family members.
Were they out of Madera?
They were actually out of the Patterson-Tracy area.
Okay.
And Dan knew the industry. He was a salesman.
Right.
And the Perez family was a farming family, and they knew the tomato side of the business and the farming side, and
Right.
and most importantly, they had the money.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So they must have been pretty well versed to be able, because I looked, through the internet and I could see, the progression of your equipment and everything. So they must have had a pretty good understanding of ingenuity and how to go forward with this.
They did. They were running the equipment, so they knew the equipment well.
Right.
But when they originally established the company back in '86, they established themselves as a dealer, much like your a Fresno Lexus,
Oh,
a
really?
car dealer. Yeah.
Oh.
So in the beginning, they did not manufacture the equipment themselves.
Okay.
That came about 14 years later. And was a kind of the second phase of the company, so to speak. But yeah, when they first started off, they were a dealer. They sold parts, they did maintenance, repair maintenance work for them, and supported the industry more than anything.
Right. Now you're an international.
We are. So once the company got into manufacturing the equipment themselves around 2000. They started selling this equipment throughout the world.
Right.
So we actually are in Brazil, Peru, Spain, Mexico, Israel, and China with our machines, as well as here in the U.S.
So you created a dealer franchise, or
We still actually sell everything direct ourselves.
okay?
We don't support some of the equipment in some of the countries like Peru and Spain. We actually will bring their mechanics to our shop and teach their mechanics how to work on the equipment. We will support them through selling parts, but we physically don't go over and work on machines in those areas.
Right. But I mean, you're in charge of the sales then.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. And then they support you by parts and service.
Correct.
I would imagine.
That's
Well,
correct.
you got to have parts and service.
Yeah.
Else you don't have a company. How many do you now at your facility? I would imagine you have service mechanics.
We do, yeah, and we have 4 facilities. Our main headquarters, where we do most of the manufacturing, is in Madera.
Yeah.
But we are also in Five Points, Crow's Landing, and Woodland, California.
Yeah. You support that way. You support the whole Central Valley, more or less.
Yeah, we try to cover the tomato growing region of California the best that we can.
Right. So you started out, I guess, from what I reviewed, it was tomatoes was your specialty at first. Am I correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did was that because of the farming ingenuity, and they knew tomato industry the best, so that's how it started?
It was what they knew best, and Dan Roderick was the salesperson for one of the big manufacturers of the tomato equipment.
Yeah.
So he had the background knowledge to be able to launch the company with what he knew.
Yeah, the tomato industry, people see, and that's why I'm doing this, is to educate your normal person and everything, because I love what you guys are doing. It's ingenuity and everything, but people don't understand that the tomato industry alone is worth $1.2 billion.
Yeah, it is big, and you know, you think about all the tomatoes that go into the ketchup and the pizzas that we eat every day.
Yeah.
It's huge,
Yeah.
and it's been a very steady industry for, you know, for the last 20 years.
Yeah, I did a podcast with a customer, and he was telling me, he said, in every ketchup bottle, there's some of our ketchup
Yeah.
that they produce in there, and I got a big kick out of that. You know, it's like, wow. But yeah, it now is, I mean, it catches up, but it's really important now is autonomy and what you're into, less labor costs.
Correct. Yeah.
That's exactly.
Yeah, that's been a big motivator for, you know, a lot of the recent improvements that we've done to the equipment. So as you know, the cost per hour of an employee goes up, minimum wage goes up, it becomes more and more important that we can actually automate this equipment as much as possible. And so, you know, you start putting on electronic sorters and things like that, and it pulls people off the machine, pulls the labor off the machine, and allows the electronics to do the business
Right.
of sorting the bad tomatoes out. And
Yeah.
so that's been a big improvement to that equipment as well.
Yeah, the industry as a whole is having a lot of issues, and they have ever since I've been in it. I mean, my grandfather, he started figs. He came here from Italy and migrated here and everything, and bought fig orchards and everything. So they've been in, and people don't understand how hard farming is. I mean, it is tough.
It is tough, and some of the crops are very, very labor intensive. And as you know, it's been tough for the last few years to get labor.
Yeah, well, yeah, labor and water shortages, you know, and everything else involved in it. And the more you can bring, I guess what you do is you look at cost per hour when you sell a machine. I would imagine. So that's what I used to do anyway.
Yeah, a lot of our customers, you know, they base it on cost per hour, cost per acre, and you know, like any good business, they're trying to minimize their cost the most that they can.
Farmers are good business people.
Farmers are really good
and
business
they're tough to deal with.
And they are.
Because they're such good people. Don't understand. It's like the EIO stuff. It's like no. These guys, I've been dealing with them, and they're the hardest people to deal with because they've gone through so much. They've seen so much. They're blight, all these bugs. Everything's against them, right?
Yeah, it does seem that way. But, you know, farmers have a way of figuring it out.
They do?
Yeah. And whether or not, like you said, it's a new disease that's come in, you know, they'll figure out new varieties, they'll figure out new, you know, pesticides, whatever it takes, you know, to get there, or even, you know, natural insects to fight off disease and problems like that as well.
Oh, yeah. So now your equipment, let's start out with your, this cool stuff, your tomato harvester. That's a cool deal, and I saw it work, and it's neat. So what does it do?
So the tomato harvesters, and we build three models. We build one called a Commander, a Johnson, and a Star.
Yeah, now your Commander, I imagine that's your flagship?
Yeah, the Commander is the one that we currently sell the most.
Yeah, that's your flagship model.
The Commander and the Johnson are very, very similar. It's kind of the Ford Chevy, you know, which model do you stick with? And the Star is a little bit smaller machine, but the Commander, so if you look just at the Commander, you know, the idea is that it will go in and it will pick up the entire row of tomatoes, brings it up on the machine, and then it separates the vine from the tomato.
Right.
Tomatoes drop on a belt, and then we send it through electronic sorting machines, and we can sort out the dirt, we can sort out the red and the green tomatoes to what level the customer wants the red-green.
So you can actually sort color?
We do, yeah. So
how does that work? Or is that a trade secret?
No, it's not a trade secret.
Okay.
It's actually something that's done, you know, throughout a lot of the farming industries out there. But you know, we basically run it across what we call an electronic box or electronic sorter. It basically has a camera or a lens that is looking at the product as it comes over, and it's identifying whether or not it's red or green. And then we have a little automated finger that actually will flick it off the belt.
Right.
And so it really is looking at each individual piece of fruit or vegetable that's going across a belt, and then deciding whether or not to keep it or kick it out.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And it's also sorting the grain.
Yeah, so you can, depending on what you want, because some of these guys, when they don't have a whole lot of green in the field,
Right.
they don't need to sort real heavy.
Right.
And, because they can take a little bit of green at the tomato plant, just not a lot of
Yeah.
it. And so the sorters are set up to where we can actually kind of tune them to where they can kick out every single green tomato that comes across and only keep a red one, or we can do a little bit of a blend.
So now does that go into a separate crate?
It doesn't. It all gets blended together. So if you don't want the greens, you just drop them back down on the ground.
Okay.
And if you want them, or a certain amount of them, you just keep them on the belt with the reds,
Right.
and then they go into the trailer.
Now, how is it powered?
So all of our equipment we run on John Deere engines.
Okay.
So like the big machines, the big tomato machines, we run a 225 horsepower John Deere motor.
Diesel.
Diesel,
Mhm.
yeah. Everything that we run is diesel power. And until we can come up with a really strong electric motor, they will continue to be diesel power.
Well, yeah. See, I used to be in the electric business, and it's in lift trucks. Okay, so I mean, I'd go back forever on electric equipment, and you get into size and counterweight, and there's all kind of other issues.
Yeah.
When you run back heat, and where are you going to charge this thing up and everything. So, how many people does it take to run your equipment? Your flagship, let's say.
So the commander itself, you can actually just have one person, just the driver on it.
Is that right?
Yeah. Now some of the farmers, especially if they're in a field that maybe is what we consider dirty, they'll put one or two people on the back and help the electronic sorters. But there's plenty of guys that will actually run them without any people on the back, any support people on the back. So one driver, that's it.
Wow. And that's Creighton, the whole bit, it does everything.
Yeah, that's picking it up, that's doing all the sorting, and then that's dropping it into the semi next door.
Right, and that's taking off and doing its thing and everything. So, how did, and this is a tough thing, so did you take all this equipment out and actually demo it at first? You had to show,
Yeah, so that was a Dan Roderick situation early on, back in when he first kind of really got into the business. They would have to do demos and things like that. But where we sit right now, we are the dominant tomato manufacturer in the valley.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we're the only real manufacturer of tomato equipment in the U.S. Our two competitors are in Italy, and the configuration of machines that they make don't quite fit the American standard bed that we use over here. So if you're going to buy a tomato harvester, you're pretty much going to be coming to us to buy it. So we don't really do any demos anymore. If you're in the tomato industry and you're going to buy a tomato harvester, you're pretty much just going to come to us and know that we're going to build you a good piece of quality equipment.
Yeah, neighbors talk to neighbors.
They do, yeah, and especially farmers.
Oh yeah. You can't mess up, or everybody knows it in the valley.
Yeah, a lot of coffee shop talk that
Yeah.
lets everybody know if you're building good equipment or not.
Yeah. So, what I mean, and then I would imagine. I was looking, you have a lot of options that you can put. Here's the deal. Do they have to grow a certain way for your machine to work?
The machine has flexibility to it, so we can put it on actually what we consider an adjustable axle. So we have an axle that'll go from a 60-inch spacing all the way out to an 80-inch spacing. So farmers, will grow on different size beds.
Yeah.
But the way that our machine goes down and picks up everything that's in front of it, it doesn't matter if it's going to pick up one bed or two beds. It'll just pick everything up and bring it onto the machine.
Yeah.
The wheel spacing is really set up for, does it match the row size that the farmer has?
Yeah.
So that way you're not running over the row next to you or anything like that, because your wheel spacing is set two-side.
So now, do you go out there and do you set that, or do you, you just tell them and they?
It depends on the company.
Yeah.
You know, well, we sell our equipment to some of the really big farmers here in the valley.
Yeah.
You know, somebody like a Boswell.
Yeah, J.G.
Or
Boswell.
yeah, J.G. Boswell, Wolf Farming. Some of these guys,
Wolf,
Calsun.
Yeah, Wolf's a good friend.
Well, these
Yeah.
guys all have, you know, mechanics and mechanic shops themselves. They can move those axles around.
Yeah,
but
I know.
but we have small, you know, we have some small farmers, small customers where they don't have that mechanic and that support, and so we'll actually do that for them.
Yeah.
And we have the mechanics. We have field mechanics that we will send out and work on machines if need be. And we actually have customers that'll send their machines in at the end of the year, and we'll overhaul their machines for them.
Yeah.
You know, so we kind of just varies customer to customer on whether or not we're doing all the work for them or whether or not they work on the machines themselves.
So I would imagine you probably do a pre-maintenance. What do you? I mean, you probably call it whatever you call it, but you do a pre-maintenance before the season and after.
Yeah, what we consider it is we do a wintertime overhaul.
Yeah.
And so, because of equipment, you know, it's digging down in the dirt and it's got tomato juice on it, you know, it wears
That's
through
what's
parts.
costly.
Yeah.
Yeah, bearings, man.
It is, yeah. It eats up bearings, things
Yeah.
like that. And so at the end of the season, customers will start sending machines into us, and then
Yeah.
we do an overhaul. And you know, from being in this business, you know, for years, you know, we have an idea of what usually needs to be changed, fixed, overhauled, you know, during that winter season. So we kind of have a package that we do.
Yeah.
They bring them in, we do an overhaul, and then we, you know, send them back to them by the end of the year.
Do you know how many hours on average they put on? I mean, do you have an hour meter? You must have something like that.
We do. So all the machines do have an hour meter up on the dash and then also on the engine itself. And so at the end of the season, we can take a look. And so, and you're correct, right? Is if they come in and maybe they only ran it 400 hours,
Yeah.
that would be a lighter overhaul than somebody that was a you know, more like a custom harvester that went up and down the valley and maybe put like 1,500 hours on a harvester. You know, then that requires.
That's a lot.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, because 400 hours on a piece of equipment is a pretty good maintenance. You know, that's pretty good. So if you're running 1,500, you know, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is. And some of the guys do. Some of the guys put a lot of hours on them. You know, especially some of the bigger companies where they will have, you know, 15 of these harvesters that they're running. But you know, and a couple of those will be spares. But they'll run these things pretty hard, and they'll put a lot of hours on them. And so that machine's got to come in and be and you know, a little tear down work on it and some bigger overhaul than what you'd have on somebody that ran it a little bit lighter.
And they come in at the last minute and you got to run around.
That's right. That's right.
That's hurry up and wait.
Yeah. We wish everybody would plan way ahead.
Yeah, I used to go, come on, and they go, no, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, you got like 5 weeks, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah, we always see the rush right before the harvest starts.
Yeah. Well, it's money.
It
you
is.
know,
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I was talking to a water expert, and they were telling me that the farms, a lot of the stuff, I mean, how do you do financing?
So we don't finance the equipment
In-house,
ourselves.
right.
Yeah. So most of them go through a third party.
Right.
And we work with a company that does the financing for them.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the larger growers they just pay directly without doing the financing, but it is a third party. We don't get involved in that.
Yeah. That's a smart.
I don't have a banking background.
No, because I used to do finance. That was a big thing, was financing and everything, and I used to do a lot of financing with the equipment. But that's what I figured. Well, you know, it's the size and the amount of the equipment too is a whole different ball game on these things.
Yeah, these are big pieces of equipment, and they're large investments too. You know, the big tomato harvesters are really around $500,000, so they're not.
That's where they start.
Yeah, and kind of depending on the options, you know, you can lighten them up a little bit, but most of the people are adding on extra items, and so they're $500,000 on up from there.
Is that a 5-year piece of equipment?
You know, we still have a couple pieces of equipment out there that are vintage 1997. So, and it depends. You know, some of the farmers really take care of them.
Yeah.
They don't have as many acres, so they're light on them from year to year. And then some of these guys, they take them out there and they run them into the ground.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And they're on a program, a recycle program, where we'll buy the old harvester from them and then build them a brand new one.
Right, right. So, yeah, and that leads me into the next thing is you sell pre-owned.
We do, yeah.
So you refer.
We do, yeah. So we get some of our customers, they want to do a trade-in every year. So they'll be on a program with us.
Yeah.
They'll bring one in every 6 years, and and so they'll have multiple machines. But some of these customers, we're getting a used machine from them every year as a trade-in.
Is that right? Every year?
Yeah. And so we will actually take those machines and either we will rebuild them and put them in our rental fleet, or we'll rebuild them and sell them elsewhere.
So you do rent?
We do, yeah. We have a fleet of about 12 harvesters right now that we rent.
It's that big, because, these things are big, and they do a lot of work. So
They do.
12's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big number. People, 40, 100, in this game, 12's a lot, because they do a lot of work per acre.
They do, yeah. And so we have different customers. Some will rent 1 or 2 machines here or there. Our biggest customer, from the rental standpoint, he rents 5 down in the Bakersfield area, and been doing that for 10 years. But he rents 5 every single season.
Yeah, see, that depends on the way they finance everything.
Yeah.
So it's easier for him to go, hey, it's come and fix your piece of equipment.
That's right.
Rather than come fix my piece. That was always the deal. It was, oh, okay. So it's a lot different deal. So now you're into the pistachio game.
We are.
And when did that start?
So that just started a couple years ago. We really started that back in 2019. And the company itself is known for building really good, high quality equipment.
Yeah.
So we went off of that platform and said, what else can we build out there in the industry?
It's a $2.8 billion industry. It's twice as big as tomatoes.
It is,
Yeah.
it is, and it's growing.
Yeah.
We look at the projections of the plantings that are going on, and it's becoming a bigger and bigger industry every year, and the growth potential that we see, out there all the way up through 2027, which is far out as the projections go, shows continued growth. So for us, we thought, hey, we already know how to build a great piece of equipment. Let's now just adapt and see what we can do for the pistachio industry.
Yeah. So it happened. That's a neat little thing too, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah, it is a neat little thing, and for me, I've only been with the company for a couple of years, so
Right.
so for me, it's something that I've really been able to sink my teeth into. And help the company grow.
Yeah.
And so we started off a few years ago. We built the shaker receiver, but since then we build all the other ancillary equipment as well.
Now the shaker receiver, that's the one with the apron?
It is, yeah.
Okay, that's a neat little thing.
Yeah. So it completely encompasses the tree, shakes the nuts, catches them, and then depending on what you're doing, whether you're bulk or bin, you're sending those nuts off of that equipment into other pieces of equipment to catch the nuts.
Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, so we just finished this last year, finished engineering and designing and manufacturing the rest of our equipment line. So now we offer all the pieces of equipment, the bin carriers, the bank outs, the bulk carts, the elevators.
That's what I saw.
Yeah. So if somebody comes to us, they can buy all the pieces of equipment that they need now to harvest pistachios.
Well, that's what you want to do as a company. You want to be able, you want to be a full shop stop. And that's how you control the flow of your business, and that's the right way to go. Yeah, I saw that. It's you've got all the attachments and the bulk carts and the shakers and everything.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is have somebody come to you to buy a shaker and a receiver and say, we don't make all the other pieces of equipment, so go to our competitor.
Yeah.
So that's why we finished out our line this last year.
Yeah, that's tough. So how did COVID affect you?
COVID affected us in a couple different ways. One, it affected us very personally.
So did you come on right before COVID?
I came on during COVID.
Okay, and go ahead. Yeah.
But we actually had 2 employees that we actually lost to COVID.
Really?
That passed away.
Wow.
And so it hit us very, very personally. 2 guys in our Madera shop we lost.
In Madera?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was, that was very devastating to us
How
as a
old were
company. Um, we kind of had a little bit mixed age. One, the first gentleman that passed away, he was probably mid-50s,
Yeah.
but the other one, I would say probably late 20s, maybe early 30s.
Was was this into COVID for a while, or when it just hit? Do you remember?
Yeah, this was early. This was late 2020, early 2021.
Yeah.
So kind of right in the middle of it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So did it shut you down?
What we ended up happening, like a lot of companies, we
Yeah.
had a little burst of COVID, hits, people would test positive.
Yeah.
So, we'd have to shut down a section of the business or a group of the guys, different things like that. And so it definitely hurt us, from a production standpoint.
Yeah.
We couldn't, not all of it we could work through. And then, where we could, we were having people work from home. Now, when you're a manufacturer of equipment,
How do
you
you
can't
do
have
that?
people work from home.
Yeah.
But a lot of our support staff work from home for a little bit, and just you try to do the best that you can. You try to keep up with all the regulations, and they changed quite a bit on us, during COVID. But yeah, you fight through it and you do the best that you can.
Yeah. Farming doesn't stop.
Farming doesn't stop. That's true. I mean, our orders still kept coming in. We still had to sell parts. And we had an obligation and a duty to our employees to protect them as well too.
Yeah. So you had to figure out a whole different way of doing business.
You do, yeah, and you end up with it starts off with a lot of hand sanitizer and plexiglass and things like that. But
Well, you're manufacturing. At least you could distance these people out.
yeah, the people that did a lot of the individual work like welding,
Yeah.
Things of that, and we were able to do that. You were able to put them in individual stalls where they could do their work by
Right.
themselves. The tougher part is our assembly teams. That was a little bit more difficult because those guys usually work in groups of 2 or 3 assembling pieces of equipment together. That's a little bit more difficult, and I can tell you, I hated wearing a mask inside the office,
Oh, yeah.
but when you're outside in the plant like today,
Yeah.
and it's 105 degrees, and you're having to wear a mask,
Oh.
and
Do they still have to do that?
they don't anymore.
Yeah,
no,
that's good.
No.
That's good.
But they did last summer, and so
Oh yeah. No,
it-
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last year was it. Yeah, I'd go and I'd just go grocery shopping. I'm like, God, I can't breathe.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
hot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a tough thing, and we got through it.
Yeah,
So
but we like most of these companies, you adapt, you figure out new things. It costs you some production time, it costs you money,
Yeah.
to do these things. But you push through it, and we watched all of our farming groups do it, and we did it ourselves as well.
Yeah. So how about and I ask a lot of people this because and I have friends in equipment businesses, and the supply chain issues that really hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, it really changed the scope of how we were able to get parts in and get even pieces of material in that we needed to continue our manufacturing process. And people, and that's probably the number one question I get from outside people is how's the supply chain?
Right.
And to give you an example, I mean we bring in parts from Germany, from Italy, and even different manufacturers here in the U.S. like John Deere engines and things like that.
Yeah.
And most of that stuff went from where we would have about a 3 to 4 month lead time.
Yeah.
Most of that stuff has gone up to about 12 to 14 months lead time.
Yeah.
And so
That's exactly what my friend says.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so it's when you think about how it changes the scope of your business. Now all of a sudden we're starting to figure out what engines do we need in 2023. We're figuring that at the end of 2021
Yeah.
because we know it's going to take us 12, 13, 14 months to get that engine in.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden we become big forecasters. We're breaking out our crystal ball,
Right.
trying to figure out what are we going to do in 2023.
Money. Yeah, and then you have to and it's your job to figure out how much this is going to cost. Right?
Yeah, and that's the other side of it too. You're trying to order now, and you're trying to get componentry in for equipment you're going to sell a year and a half from now. So you're also quoting equipment
Right.
for 2023,
Yeah.
and you're hoping that pricing doesn't change significant,
And it does.
so that we can still stay in business.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, on your quote you put, this is good for 30 days.
Yeah.
Because in 30 days, the price is gonna go up like 10%, and then 10%, you know.
And it has, we
Yeah.
saw raw metal go up about 200%.
Raw metal.
Yeah. And we bring in a lot of raw metal, from overseas.
Yeah.
A lot of it comes in from overseas, but when something like that jumps up 200%, it's tough to control your cost.
200% is huge.
It
And
is.
okay, this didn't happen to you, I mean, it was a progressive, right? But still, I mean, so, you go, okay, that plus freight. Freight's always added into your cost.
Yeah, and freight has skyrocketed too.
Oh, yeah.
And when we're having to pay $7 a gallon for diesel, it's going to keep going up.
And yeah, because of the size of your equipment, next day air and 2-day shipping is just, because of the weight of your equipment and what you're ordering. How do you get a John Deere engine,
Yeah.
So that's another thing. So you also rent, I guess, John Deere equipment, or do you rent and sell it, or how does that go?
So the tomato harvesters we rent, but then we also rent John Deere tractors.
Right.
So we own a fleet of John Deere tractors we will rent out for the year, and then we also have the electronic sorter boxes we were talking about earlier. We rent those out as well.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of our rental program for the most part.
Yeah.
But we sell a little bit of the short line equipment. We sell some sprayers and some small disc and some ancillary equipment like that.
Yeah.
But we're not a John Deere dealer per se.
Yeah.
So we don't rent all, or we don't offer for sale John Deere tractors or anything like that.
Right. Oh yeah.
But we will sell our fleet. It's kind of like any good company. Everything's for sale.
Yeah, that's yeah. My desk, you want it?
Yeah,
It's gone.
yeah.
That's a good attitude.
Yeah.
The cost change. People think they thought it was just certain things, and it's like no. This affected everything, and people that don't understand it, they all blame. Everybody's like pointing fingers at different, and it's like it's the whole thing. When the switch was pulled, everybody took a hit, and it became one big mess instead of, it was like, okay, it's the trains or it's the trucks. It was everything.
Yeah.
And it's going to take, I don't know, are you seeing any, it must take a while for that to turn around.
Yeah, it takes a while for the rebound. We have seen pricing come down on metal,
Good.
raw metal.
Yeah.
It's starting to come down, but a lot of other things we're still seeing increases in costs go up. And we buy stuff every single day, and so we have a very good pulse on what's happening out there in the industry.
Your strengths are manufacturing. Okay, that's your strengths.
Yeah.
Because you're making what you're selling, and that is a huge strength.
It is, and I think one of the things that makes our company really strong, and we put it in some of our advertisements that go out, is that we say we also service with the same mechanics that just built the equipment.
Yeah.
And so for us, that's a big part of what we offer during the season. Once the harvest season kicks in, we offer 24/7 service.
Yeah.
And so they can call. They can break down at 2 o'clock in the morning, and we will send somebody out. And the nice thing is that mechanic that's going out there, he has knowledge of that equipment. We're not getting a third party to come out and work on something.
Yeah.
Those are our mechanics that are going out there. They were earlier that year in the shop. They were actually building that piece of equipment. So our guys are very, very knowledgeable of what they're doing.
Yeah, I was put on a list, your 24/7 list, right? So I was put on some list. I didn't even know it. And then all of a sudden, I picked up the phone one Sunday, and there it was. And then it was every Sunday. We can get a hold of this guy,
Yeah,
And a lot of it was Boswell, and at the time they were doing a lot of cotton. I guess they don't do a lot of cotton, but cotton used to be really big in the valleys in the early 90s, late 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Cotton was a big thing.
Yeah.
but, you know, they got on and they did other things, of course, you know,
Yeah.
but,
Well, these guys, they want service.
Yeah.
You know, when a piece of equipment breaks down, you know, it's money.
oh, yeah,
You know, and so
downtime's expensive.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, downtime is expensive. You know, there's usually a crew sitting. You know, whether or not it's truck drivers or that are set up to haul the equipment back in, or just the driver himself. But it costs them a lot of money. So that's one of the reasons we provide that 24/7 service as well. You know, because we know how expensive that is for a farmer to have downtime.
Oh, yeah, one time I was doing some work, and I was doing work for a distribution center that provided all the medical equipment for the community hospitals in San Joaquin Valley, so you can imagine, okay? So I'm doing all this, we planned all this work, and one little thing went bad, and it shut the whole place down.
Yeah.
And I'm driving, and I get this phone call, and it's this guy, and he says, "Hey, Pat." I said, "Yeah." He says, "We're down." And I said, "Yeah, okay, you know." And he says, "No, we're down. The whole business is down." He says, "We can't deliver nothing." And then I just start sweating. I got to make this happen.
Yeah.
You know. So I've been there.
Yeah.
And it is a tough thing. But you got to perform. That's
Yeah.
what the whole thing is. You know.
Yeah.
That's what makes your company great and everything. So, yeah, I've seen a lot of things in the pistachio business. Now that's a different thing than it's tomatoes.
Yeah, significantly different, and but we have a really good engineering team.
Yeah.
That understands equipment.
Yeah.
And we also do a good job of going out, talking to our customers, talking to potential customers. We do our research, to figure out what do people want when we go to build a piece of equipment. We don't just look at ourselves internally and say, this is what we want. We spend time out there talking to customers, looking at the industry, trying to figure out, what is the best tool that will help this farmer. And so we kind of take that approach to any piece of equipment that we're going to build.
Yeah. Well, you get into asking questions, and then you get the unrealistic. Unrealistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want this to do this, and John's Superman's cape, and he wants. It's like, whoa, dude.
Yeah. No, you're right. We get the customer that says, I just want a good piece of equipment that'll shake the pistachio tree and deliver the nuts to the.
Yeah.
And then you get the customer that's, I want, I want all these special features. I want it to drive itself. I want it to sort the nuts, And so you got to kind of weigh it out of like, where's the middle of the road?
Get a medium out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want this to break down ever.
Yeah.
Well, things break down, they move, you got to maintain them and stuff, so.
Yeah, any piece of equipment that you work hard in the field eventually will.
Oh, they're
will
gonna,
have
yeah,
something.
if there's a way to destroy something, someone's gonna figure out how to do it. I don't care how bulletproof you
Yeah.
get it. Guy told me, he says, and the parts is the same way. So you carry your A and B parts. I don't know what you guys call them, but that's what we, and it was like, what is it usually needed? And then everything else is freighted in,
Mm-hmm.
Or in your case, you probably have to manufacture.
Yeah, we do a little bit of both, but we do manufacture several, or a lot of parts for our equipment.
See, that's a big thing.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, because you gotta, call somebody on, and, well, we're back ordered on that product. No, we just make it.
Yeah.
So that's what I was doing, and I worked for Caterpillar, and they were getting really weird about things because I had this manufacturing background. I knew that things could be made and how they could be made, so I was having things made. And they were like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Look, I come and talk to you, and you say 12 weeks, and I go into the manufacturing company, and they say they can make it for me in 10 days."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it does. It helps you control your business as well too.
Yeah.
Because then you're not relying on somebody else, to get something to you to take care of your
That's a
customer.
big strength of yours.
It is, yeah.
Big strength. So, how are you doing in the pistachio?
We're doing good. So
Making progress?
We are. So
it's progress. Yeah.
Yeah. All these things take time, But we launched kind of the full line earlier this year at the World Ag Expo.
Yeah.
And we had a great response from there. I can say that we're lucky in the sense that all the equipment that we built for 2022 we have sold. So we're actually sold out this year. So thank you
Is
God
that
for that
right?
one. Yeah, we are.
So
we had a
everything you
great year.
built, you sold.
We did.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You can't, yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah, so we hit our mark for this year, and we're gonna expand that line next year. Matter of fact, we're gonna double our line next year of what we're
Your
planning on
projected
making.
sales.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so and the reason that I can already tell you that it's because we've already had to order all that equipment for next year.
Yeah.
So we've already ordered double what we sold this year.
Oh, yeah.
Anticipating what kind of year we're gonna have next year. But
So are you doing the same thing with the pistachio equipment as you're doing with the tomato equipment? Are you manufacturing?
we're manufacturing, yeah. So we
No,
yeah. So
nice.
we do it all in house.
Okay, so now, your competitors, are they manufacturing as well?
Yeah, our top competitors that are out there, and there's really two of them that we look at, as true competition. They do a similar product.
Yeah.
And so they do it in different physical areas of the state, but they basically are kind of the same model that we are.
Yeah.
From a manufacturing standpoint.
Yeah, if you don't know what your equipment does and someone just looks at it, they'll never figure out what it does.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've never seen it work or know the process, you're out in the dark.
Yeah.
I'd go to the farm show and, I walk around, I get a big kick out of it, looking at the cool stuff like what you guys have and everything. And I did a podcast with Connie Conway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Connie's. She puts that whole thing together. I was like, jeez, man, and she's like, oh, hey, you talk about issues with things, because of COVID and all this other stuff. I went to the last one that they had right before COVID, and I was really worried because Tulare got hit hard because everybody, it's an international thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you had international people there with the COVID and everything, and I was like, I'm gonna get this thing, and we were really worried because when it started, it was really, really bad, the prognosis was, and then it became not so, but, and I was like, God, I'm gonna get this. I was out there messing around, I mean, right before,
Yeah.
So I don't know, I think did you do a virtual one or something like that?
There was a virtual show in 2021.
Yeah, did you participate in that?
We did, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We've been a part of the World Ag Expo for many of years,
Yeah.
and we have a premier booth right there on Main Street,
Yeah.
and so it's something that we believe and we participate in. But we participated in the virtual show, but nothing like being in person, for a farm equipment show.
No, you're gonna get people talking about.
Hard to kick the tires from the internet,
Yeah, so I mean, is there a way of showing how your equipment works at the show?
We don't demo the equipment at the
No,
show.
you can't.
So it's tough to do that. But one of the things that we do, especially with our pistachio equipment, is that we actually will do demos for customers. So this last year, I think we went out to 15 customers, and we will actually run our equipment in their orchards. So
Yeah.
we will actually harvest their crop, show them how the equipment works,
Yeah.
and things of that nature. And that hands-on demo is really what sells the equipment. Because we build good equipment, so we want the farmer and his employees to get on the equipment,
Yeah.
to drive it, and so we take it out there, and the way that we did it last year, we would drop it off for a customer, we'd show them how to use it, we'd leave it there for 2 or 3 days,
Yeah.
and then come back and pick it up.
Yeah, and that's a big cost to you.
It is, yeah, that's a big
People don't
initial
understand.
investment.
There's a lot going on here that people are.
Yeah.
It's like putting that thing together, taking it out, having a tech go out there. There's always issues, and it's a very costly thing, and it takes a lot for you as a manufacturer to design something. And there's always bugs you got to work out, real world applications to. I've got an idea, it's a great idea, but it won't work, so we have to do something else with it.
Yeah,
That's a big case. So what do you do with the software? There's got to be a software component.
You know what? For us, the big software component that we have is really on our electronic sorters.
Yeah,
and so we outsource that.
Yeah. So someone's writing your.
Someone's writing our code on
Yeah.
that, on that software, yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
a
so
cool
it's second party.
Yeah, so the pistachios and the almonds, they got, you know what the mummy deal is?
The mummy shake?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, and that's a big thing. And I saw this piece of equipment and I was like, it's somebody's idea, their baby, but it looked like something from NASA. And it actually shot a pellet out of it.
Yeah,
Did you see that?
I did see
Yeah,
that.
and it shoots a pellet, and I'm not disregarding it, but it shoots a pellet, some biodegradable thing, and it kills the thing. It like blows it up, and I'm like, these are some big fields, you know, with the light. I'm like, well, you know, you'd have to have a lot of cannons out
Yeah.
there.
No, I did see it. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
you know, when you
Did you
look
see
at
it
it from.
live?
I did not.
Oh,
I
okay.
did not. But you know, when you think about that concept, you know, that's a neat concept.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that innovation, you know, because it's important for the farmers to be able to get that, you know, that dead nut off the tree.
Yeah.
You know, so that they don't end up with disease problems. You know, from bugs being able to live
Well,
inside
that
those
pole, I mean, you,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, God, that's a big deal.
Yeah, yeah. So they're either shaking them off, they're either, you know, hitting them with a pole, you know, which is a lot of manual
Yeah,
labor,
yeah.
or, you know, somebody's going to come up with a way with, you know, the pellet machine gun or whatever
Yeah,
it was.
yeah,
that they were
some
using.
necessity to do it, and I was like, I don't know if that's gonna work, but, you
Yeah.
know, it's a good idea.
But
I
it's,
mean,
you know, but you got to be. The innovation of that is impressive.
Oh,
itself,
yeah.
You know.
I was like, how's it doing that?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and I guess it's using air, you know, which is
Yeah.
pretty cool and
Yeah,
everything.
that is.
But, yeah, I guess dust is a big thing with these guys.
Yeah, not so much in the pistachio world,
Yeah,
because you're you know, when you harvest pistachios, you know, you're catching it and
Yeah,
it's going
that's
straight
what I
into
saw.
a trailer.
Yeah, you don't do
But it is a bigger deal with the almonds, and you know, we as of today, we don't make almond equipment.
As of today.
As of today,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and there's a reason I said it that way.
Yeah.
But you know, dust is a big issue, and you know, it's going to be interesting to see if that gets regulated in the future.
Oh, it's
you know,
going to.
well, you everything else has, so I figured
that's what I mean.
that's on
Yeah.
that's on the.
It's gonna be another
the
bad
list.
policy.
Yeah.
I can see it coming. Yeah.
But you know, we all see it. You know, all of us that live here in the valley, and I've lived here in the valley my entire life. You know, you see the dust in the air.
Yeah.
You see the things that are happening. It's, you know, it's real. And you know, I think part of the innovation of you know, of our farming industry is that we will continue to develop equipment that limits that amount of dust that
Yeah.
gets put up in the air.
Yeah.
And I myself and my company, we actually want to eventually be part of that solution.
Yeah, that's a big, they know it's coming. I mean, I see
Yeah.
it coming.
Yeah.
So if I see it coming, it's gonna come and it's gonna happen, and then it's this light switch thing. It's like these people, they make these policies and they don't understand how it's gonna get fixed, how it's gonna work. They just do it. And the carb deal was part of that. I was involved in that. It was like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know, how are we gonna do this? You know, but it gets worked out at the end.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? I mean, is there anything? I mean, I know we talked about a lot of stuff, but
Yeah, you know, I think for us as a company, you know, we're continuing to grow. You know, we're going to continue to polish our equipment is the word that, you know, I use in a lot of meetings. You know, every year we look at our tomato harvester. I mean, even though we've been building it for a long time, but you know, what can we do to make them a better piece of equipment? You
Right.
know, do we make them wider? Do we make them taller? Do we put a bigger, smaller engine? You know, as things come up, you know, are there, you know, one day are we going to be able to put electric motors on them? So,
Right.
you know, as a company, we are always looking at, you know, innovating the next best thing for our equipment itself. We're doing the same thing with our pistachio equipment. I mean, we're only our
Yeah.
third year into it,
Yeah.
but we're already looking for, you know, what's the next design, what's the next phase that you come up with that will improve that equipment itself.
well, the good part about your organization is you can fall on your laurels or your tomatoes. So you can say, look, we made the best tomato equipment, so we're going to make the best pistachio equipment. There's going to be some bugs, but I mean, we're going to work them out. We're going to give you the best, product like we did here, and that's something. That's an important, that's a good bragging right to have.
It is, and we own the electronic sorter line. It's we bought it from Tomra. It's called Odenberg Electronic Sorters, and we're doing the same thing with that piece of equipment right now. Customers demand more from the piece of equipment that you're selling them.
Sure.
So we're trying to figure out what are the upgrades that we want to do on that. Different customers want different things. As you run a tomato harvester through the field, everything nowadays with smartphones and Bluetooth technologies, farmers want to know. They want to know how well is that a piece of equipment running. So what kind of information can you take off your piece of equipment and give to a farmer on his smartphone or on his tablet,
right.
Something along those lines. So those are the things that we're trying to look at and we're trying to figure out for the future.
So that's your direction.
That's the direction, yeah. Improve the equipment, make it make it more information driven. Yield data, things of that nature.
Yeah.
And so what can we do? And and how do you simplify it? How do you make it so that I don't know about the last time you opened up the hood of your car, but you look inside, you can't figure anything out, right? Well, we also don't want to make it so complex that if a piece of equipment breaks down in the middle of a field, it takes a scientist from NASA to show up to fix the thing.
Yeah.
We want to be able to make things that are very, very durable, but we also want to make it that when fatigue does set in and a piece of a part breaks, is that you can fix it out in the field and you can keep it going. So it's that balance too. Don't overcomplicate it, but you also need to make it as sophisticated as you can so that it gives the farmer what he's looking for. So if that's yield data, harvest monitoring, things of that nature, that's what we're looking into.
Yeah, that's your position, and that's the way you're going. And it sounds like if you're successful at one thing, you'll be successful at others, just so long as you use the same patterns of what you did.
Yeah, and we're constantly looking at other pieces of equipment. The almond industry, which is a huge industry. Over 1.3 million acres.
Yeah.
It's an incredible machine that's out there. And so we're looking at that. We'll never lose sight of the fact that we're founded on tomatoes.
Right.
Tomatoes is what drives our boat, and so we say that over and over in our exec team meetings of don't ever lose focus of what got us here and what drives us. Yeah. That's who we are. That's our core. That's our background. But we make really good equipment, and so we know that we can make equipment for other industries that are out there, such as almonds or stone fruit, different things like that, the grape industry. So we always have our thinking caps on, and we're always seeing what can we do next.
Yeah, I like the idea you guys are expanding it. The issue is the supply chain right now. That's the hook. You got to get around that. And
yeah,
it's everybody's hook.
Yeah, and it just makes it difficult. If you could order equipment, from all of our suppliers and get it in 90 days, it changes what you're able to do. When you have to order equipment 14 months out to get in, it's the projections that kill you, because you just don't know. Maybe most companies don't know 14 months from now exactly what they're going to be doing. And so that's the tough part.
Money in, money out. That's what drives a company.
Absolutely.
And you have to budget. People understand that things are budgeted in companies. Yeah. They just don't miraculously come up with a whole bunch of money to do something.
Yeah, when you have to inventory, 14 months ahead and do things like that, it makes it tough.
Yeah, R&D is a big deal. Yeah. So you have an R&D team.
We do, yeah. Our engineering group that does a lot of this work for us. We have some very, very talented men that have been with our company for a long time. A lot of our team has been together for a long time. I'm the new kid on the block, so to speak, that came into the company. But we have a lot of experience with our guys, and so they do a lot of that heavy lifting of just what can we do next, what can we make next, and how can we improve this equipment.
It's a great attitude to have. Now, how do people find you? I imagine the internet site, which
we do. westsideequipment.com is our website.
Yeah.
But you know, we're really easy to search if you know, if you put tomato manufacturers
Yeah.
you know in. But like I said, our headquarters are located there in Madera. But we're very easy. We have a really nice website that
Yeah.
displays all of our equipment,
Yeah.
the tomato and the pistachio equipment stuff. But we're easy to get a hold of that way.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching your videos and how everything was working. You got an on-site demo just on your website.
Yeah.
So it's a cool thing, and you know, and I encourage people who don't understand fruit at all to look and see what what goes on, and you know, what the process is and how we're trying to save people money and get the rolls together.
Yeah, and we try to take a lot of the heavy labor out of
Yeah.
harvesting.
Yeah, it's a
right?
big deal.
Yeah. The more automated that we can do this, and the fewer people that we actually have to put in the field, because those are tough jobs out there.
Yeah.
And so the less lifting and
Oh, yeah.
bending over and the backs and the stressing of all that we can eliminate, I think the better off we are.
Excellent. Okay, I enjoyed talking to you, and good luck, and I think you'll be there.
Thank you, Pat.
Have a
Enjoyed
great day.
it. All right.
Thanks.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.